All right, guys, let's do a get ready with me on more new stuff I got at Ulta. I'm going to also tell you about one of the worst dates I ever went on. Because when I was single about 10 years ago, I had some pretty awful dates and I want you to know about them, okay? So first we're gonna use I tried this yesterday, the Essence Hello Good Stuff Primer Serum. Okay, so this is when I was about 19 and I've been married twice, by the way. I'm still married. So anyway, I have been on OkCupid, which is how I kind of met my first husband, sort of. Anyway, well, I'll have to tell you about all the other stories. But anyway, so I was on OkCupid. I've been on quite a few dates before. A lot of first dates, of course. And this guy sounded nice on the phone. I don't even remember his name. I talked to a lot of guys. This guy sounded all dandy and nice on the phone, you know. And we were going to meet up. Harry Potter had just come out, the last one. And I had already seen it, but of course I wanted to see it in IMAX. This is, you know, back in the day, circa 2011. It's a big deal when they first came out, at least, I don't know, for me. I don't know if anyone else did this, but I waited until midnight, you know, the midnight premiere, the movie came out. So I wanted to see it again. I wanted to see it in IMAX. My sisters and my parents were going to go see it, but I was like, oh no, I have a date. I'm meeting this guy. So anyway, met this guy at this Italian restaurant. So I show up, he's late. And by the way, all the products that I'm using are gonna be in the description box below. So anyway, he is late and he texts me. I think he texted me saying he's running late or something. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he shows up. He told me we have been texting that day. He told me he had been working on his car and stuff. I'm like, okay. And he shows up with grease. I'm talking about like on his arms, legs, everything. I'm like, on his clothes. And he's like, oh yeah, I didn't have time to shower. And I'm like, okay. So then we get into the restaurant. Like I said, he looks awful, just like a mess. And you know how people always put their best pictures online, of course. I was 18, almost 19, because it was in the summer. I remember that, on summer break for school. I was actually taking summer classes too. Anyway, so we met up. I think he had just graduated college, I believe, or maybe he was like a year out. I don't know. I think he was 22 or almost 22, because he was a bartender. So he was definitely 21. But anyway, so we sit down at the restaurant and he's sitting, so I'm sitting here like I am now, and he's sitting in front of me, and we're not in like a booth, we're just in like a traditional like table, you know, chairs and everything. And the waitress is right like near his face, and he's like, he checks out her ass and he goes, nice. And I'm like, did this just happen? Like, did this guy really just say this? So yeah, that happened. Then he's like telling me all these drunk stories from college. Oh, you wouldn't understand, you know, because you're younger than me. I'm like, he's just telling me these awful stories. And I'm just like, why would this at all be impressive? And why would you ever tell somebody this on a first date? Like, oh my God. And he wasn't gross on the phone. Like, we had talked on the phone, we had texted. I'm like, oh my God. So then I don't really know, nothing really eventful, I guess, happened while we were out and like, you know, chatting or anything. During dinner, I think everything was okay. I don't know. He was talking about being a bartender and like blah, 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 how he has more experience than me because he's older. I'm like, okay. I know that we like continued on with the date. We got ice cream. Let's just say we got ice cream, okay? Oh, there's a Baskin Robbins there. Sorry, there's a Baskin Robbins there. And he is talking about, he keeps saying the union. I'm like, I'm sorry, the what? He's like, the union, like, you know, the United States. I said, I have not heard anybody talk about that. We're talking about the Civil War here, like the union. Like, why can't you just say the United States? And then he told me that he thought women shouldn't work because his mom didn't work. He also told me that a woman should, and I'm not kidding when I say this, a woman should have the dinner ready basically at a certain time, at like 6 o'clock, and then you gotta have your pants off by, you know, 7. I'm like, I'm sorry, excuse me? Again, this is our first date, okay? Never met the dude before. I was just like, excuse me, and how women shouldn't work until their child is at least 5 in kindergarten. And I'm like, and my mom, by the way, has worked my whole life. My mom was a single mom for most of my life growing up. And yeah, I was like, excuse me? So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a single mom, but I don't think someone should tell you that's how it should be. He's just telling me how he doesn't think women should work and pretty much how he doesn't think that they should really have rights. A man should be able to tell what to do, and that's what his mom did, so obviously it's the right way to do it. But yeah, he just kept talking about, like I said, he's a bartender, talking about drinking and partying. Oh, you obviously don't know what it's called. It's called the union because, you know, you're so young. I'm like, oh my God. So I was a nursing assistant at the time. I worked night shift at a nursing home at the time, and I actually said I needed to leave early, but he's like, so, you know, do you want to do this again? I'm like, how about I call you? Okay, I'll call you and we can set something up, okay? No. And then, so he tells me like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I was like, oh man, I gotta go to work early. Like, oh, so they called me in. I was like, okay, I will text you, you know, and set something up. Never did, obviously. But then he tells me like, yeah, I'm gonna go to work and like, you know, drink a little bit. I'm like, okay. But yeah, that was, he thought he was just the hottest thing ever. I'm just like, oh my God. He looked way better looking in his pictures. He had gained some weight, which I don't care, okay? I don't care about that. But it was just the fact that some of these people, they really don't understand. Oh yeah, and every guy I went on a date with too was like, can you believe I'm single? Me, of all people. I'm like, no, cannot believe that you yourself are single. And I dated a guy briefly who also had the same mentality that pretty much was like telling me very early on, I'm talking about, we only dated for like, I think a month. And he was saying how, you know, these are our kids' names. This is when we're going to have kids. This is how it's going to go. I'm like, excuse me, you're not going to work. Like, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go down. So yeah, I don't really like that. That doesn't really fly by me. Like, I have no problem with people staying at home or anything like that. Whatever you decide to do with your life, your marriage, your kids, that's, you know, that is your decision. But I don't think that anybody, first of all, a man or a woman or anybody, whoever they are, should tell you without your decision, without your anything. Because me and this guy were talking, right? We're talking. I'm like, you know, I respect your opinion, but I don't personally agree with that. He's just basically telling me because I'm a woman. I'm like he thinks that we're gonna have a second date. I'm like, excuse me, what? Why? Why would I want to have a second date with you? Like, I was so mad though. I missed Harry Potter for that. You know, I have a lot of other stories where I'm like, but anyway, that is just a little bit of, yeah, that interesting date. And I talked about it really fast because I have told the story before, because people are like, no. I'm like, yes, that did happen. I went on, also, I was always the person's like first date too from the online. I'm like, oh Jesus, like, oh my God. Where I went on, so I think it was like a year, I went on 12 first dates, and some of them were fine. Like, you know, we just didn't really vibe. Like, it was more like a friend connection, or it was just awful, like awful. And dating is terrible. I'm so glad I'm not dating. Oh my God. After my separation, I was like, oh, hell, absolutely not. Like, I was like, actually one of my big fears, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm back in it again. I was in a relationship for almost 8 years, from 19-ish to 27. And we were married for 4 years. Well, legally more than that, but I don't really count that. I think once you split, I don't count being married anymore, even though legally you're married. So we were together for almost 8 years. And I've been with my current husband we have been married for almost a year. On July 31st, it'll be our first wedding anniversary. I met my husband in November of 2019. So yeah, I have a little bit of experience of dating and some awful stories. I'm gonna finish my look in a short, so if you wanna see that, you'll see it later. You'll probably see the short before you see this video. But yeah, anyway, let me know if you guys have had some horrific dates, and I'm really, really sorry. And I'm sorry if you're in the dating world. I promise there are some good guys out there. Husband is the best. I know everybody says that, but I actually mean it. So yeah, find someone who treats you really, really well. And if you don't, then tell them to get lost, because they ain't worth it. And don't waste your time. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your life. You only have one, and it needs to be good. Please thumbs up this video if you liked it, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.